Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Expertly done
There we
that
go. Okay.
that countdown. Okay, if you can just close all that.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I think just a quick apologies for the first link that was sent out that did not work too well. We're not IT guys. We money guys. We specialize in that field. So for us, the last 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of trying to move everything online with these type of webinars has been challenging, to say the least. And especially, when you need specialists to come out and come and look and do things for you, they're not seen as essential services. So we're doing the best we can. I think we're doing a great job, but we're always open for some suggestions. To get things started, I think maybe just a bit of housekeeping. So what we were doing is we'll be doing running through a very nice presentation. The presentation should take 30 to 40 minutes. After the presentation, we'll be having a 5-minute or 10-minute comfort break, grab a cup of coffee, and then we will answer all questions. But I do ask you that as we go along and you have a question, type it into the text box, and we will get to it at that stage. So as far as introductions, my name is Frans Smit. I am the founder and the MD of a company called Pilot Insure. And we've got really amazing guest speakers today, or people helping us put this together, in the form of Liz from Independent Trust Services. Liz will introduce herself a little bit more, but I can tell you guys that she's got, which we realized yesterday, 3 decades of experience in this. And when you look at her, you'll say, no ways, it's not possible. But it's absolutely true. And they absolutely specialize in the field of group schemes, benefit schemes, that sort of thing. So she can give you a much better qualification on what they do and exactly how they work. And we've asked her to come on board today because we found that the big thing is, with all this uncertainty going on, everyone's jumping the gun, and we heard yesterday this big new stimulus package. So we're all hoping and praying that would garner the support, especially for SAA. To get them through this period. But we're not going to be talking about any of that today. We're not going to be talking about the top-down view of the big funds and where you should be putting your money, or what the markets are doing, or what, because it's all opinionated. No one really knows. What we thought we would do is we'd get it down to the nuts and bolts. So we're going to get down to, what does it actually mean in the event of you being retrenched? What does it mean? What does it look like? What are the things you need to focus on?
Format of how the whole thing works is, this isn't a high level presentation to tell you how the markets are going to react to this and where you need to put your money and and high level conversations like that. What this is literally what we put in the invitation is an information session of nuts and bolts tools that you guys can use. What are the practical next steps, and what is a practical example that you can relate to in what the next few weeks holds for people in your situation, as super sad as it is. I think we've got Frans back. Frans, do you want to carry on from where you were there? Have you got some? Have you got some? I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, sorry guys, my
There we go.
internet dropped. Great. So I missed what David said, so I'm just going to finish what I was busy with. So we're doing more of a practical view, just to say what does this actually mean for you, and what's the best step forward. So Dave, if you can move the slide along.
Yes. There you go.
Okay, so just again, part of the housekeeping, part of the introduction. So We are pilot insurer, and we've got independent trust services with us. We focus on financial solutions for the aviation industry, investment risk, medical aids, and I think what's very important is that we independent and unbiased. So we don't prescribe to a certain investment house. We don't prescribe to a certain risk house. We actually prescribe to all of them, and the big insurers and investment companies are our partners in all of this. Independent trust services, they focused 100% on employee benefits, also totally independent company, and then also work with the facilitation. It's very important to point out that we just going forward, and just so you understand a bit more about how we work, is that we only work with specialists in certain fields. So we don't believe in working with jacks of all trades. We go and we find the absolute best of the best in their specific field, and then we all build these power units, and that's how we can get the the best value or the best service out to our clients. So Liz, I think this is where you can jump in and you can start with your presentation. Liz has put a hell of a lot of time into this. I think for us it would have taken a couple of months to put something like this together, but for someone like Liz, what did you do it in 10 minutes just because you knew everything, Liz?
Thanks, Franz. Not really. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, independent, and unfortunately, as you mentioned, I do have more than 30 years experience in the employee benefits industry, despite my youthful good looks. David, if you could actually move the slide forward.
Liz, I've given you remote control. Try and click the slide forward.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay. No, that's fine. I'll just keep doing it. No sweat. There we go. Okay.
Okay. So that is the team consisting of Franz, David Leroux, myself, and my business partner, Henry Dull. Just a bit of background on Henry and myself. I'm not going to go through all the qualifications, but we are highly qualified in the area of employee benefits. Henry has got a legal background. He started off as a magistrate, has had top management positions at various of the large insurers and administrators. And myself also, as we said, 3 decades. I've been principal officer to a number of large funds, the same as Henry. He's also been principal officer and trustee for a lot of funds. So our role in terms of this webinar is purely a facilitation role. It's not in any way anything other than actually providing you with information at this time when you actually need it most. All right. So as Franz mentioned earlier, we are possibly jumping the gun because your final decision hasn't been made. Members of SAA can be moved to different companies. There could be a retrenchment package. There could be a dismissal package. But what we wanted to put together is a snapshot of all the benefits that are due to you in the event of retrenchment, so that before you actually go into any negotiations or you make any decisions regarding your benefit, you actually know what would be due to you at that time and how important counseling is in that process. Counseling and consultation to make sure that you know what needs to happen. Now, if you look at retrenchment, retrenchment is a form of dismissal due to no fault of the employee, and it is generally due to economic circumstances where the company just literally cannot afford to keep running. Right, dismissal would be where the employer's contracted employment is terminated, and the benefits in the event of dismissal will not be the same as retrenchment. Now, we want to run through very briefly, and we don't want to go into it because your particular circumstances may be different, but the minimum benefits in terms of the Act is what we'll run through quickly. All right. Okay. So in terms of retrenchment benefits, You will be entitled to severance pay, at least 1 week's pay for each completed year of service. Now, as we said before, this amount may differ depending on SAA policy or your own employment contract. But the minimum benefit is 1 week's pay for each year of completed service. In addition to that, you will be entitled to your leave pay, any leave pay that is still due to you at that particular time. And then notice pay. And this is if no contract is in place. If a contract is in place, obviously your notice pay may be different. So if you are employed, if you've been employed for less than 6 months, it's 1 week of notice pay. 6 months, but less than a year, 2 weeks of notice pay. And if you've been employed for more than a year, it's 4 weeks of notice pay. And then again, you are entitled to any other benefits, such as pro rata payments of bonuses that were due to you, etc. And importantly, you could claim UIF once you are unemployed. So that is just a snapshot of what the minimum retrenchment benefits are due. Now, we don't know what the position would be. Everything depends on employer affordability at the time. And if the company does go into liquidation, it's important that the employees actually put in joint claims against the liquidator so that you can be preferential creditors in the event of liquidation. Right. David has put together an example. David, do you want to run through the example?
Absolutely. Thanks, Liz. All right, so just to differentiate, this is a retrenchment benefit in a perfect world. We are going to start talking about retirement benefits, but now this is only a retrenchment benefit, very separate from a retirement benefit. So in a perfect world, this is what and again, it depends on what SAA policy is and the solvency within the company. But let's say a 45-year-old senior first officer, monthly earnings of roughly 100,000 Rand per month, translates to 25,000 Rand weekly on a pro rata. Let's say this person has had 16 years of service and has 30 days of leave available to them, and we're not taking bonuses into account here. So just practically, this is what it would look like, just to give you some numbers. 16 years of service is 1 week per year, so 16 weeks times 25,000 gives us that 400,000 Rand number over there. Plus the 30 days of leave pay, which is 100,000 Rand, and your total severance package before tax would be 400,000 plus the 100,000 gives us that 500,000. Again, this will be subject to tax. And again, I just want to reiterate, this is not the exact case. Obviously, these numbers are just illustrative and the scenario is illustrative and it's not guaranteed, subject to the solvency within the company and SAA policy.
Yeah, so that would be the typical benefit that is due to a member in the event of retrenchment. Okay. What we want to run through is the benefit that would be payable to you from the retirement fund if you were to sever your employment ties. Okay, so SAA runs quite a large group of funds. We were able to find details on some of the funds. There could be additional funds. So there are 2 closed defined benefit funds as well as a number of defined contribution funds. But it does seem that the majority of members belong to the Transnet Retirement Fund, which is a fund that is administered by Momentum. It's a defined contribution fund. It literally means that it works like a bank account. Whatever money has gone in, less any costs, and whatever investment growth there has been will be the benefit due to you. So in the event of retrenchment, you'll be entitled to your full benefit in that fund. There's no waiting period, etc. All right, another fund is the SAA Flight Deck Crew Provident Fund, which is administered by Grant Thornton Employee Benefits. Then there's the SAA Retirement Fund, a Transport Pension Fund, which is administered by Sanlam. It's a closed defined benefit fund. And then there is an SA German Pension Fund benefits. Now, what is important and why we stressed before that counseling is so important, that you actually get somebody in to talk to you beforehand, is that you find out exactly where your benefits are and what they are, and you know what your specific options are in terms of that fund, because some funds may have different options available. We are going to discuss the various options available to you when leaving a fund, and you'll see that due to the number of options, it's vitally important that you actually speak to somebody beforehand, you know, to know what you want to do with that benefit. David, would you click forward? Okay, sorry, we just had a message from Oman, and yes, that fund is administered by Momentum. All right. Okay, so these are the options that are available to members. You can either take your benefit in cash upon retrenchment, or you can leave it in the fund as a paid up or deferred retirement fund. This is a new option that was put in place as from the 1st of March 2019. All funds had to put in options for members to actually preserve their benefits in the fund. So you actually don't have to make a decision. You'll leave it there. But we'll go into why it's important to actually, if you're going to make a decision, you know, whether you want to leave it there, that you actually make a decision prior to the retrenchment actually going through. You can transfer it to your new employer's retirement fund, you can transfer it to a retirement annuity fund, or you can transfer it to a preservation fund, or if you are older than age 55, you can actually retire. Now, let's just go back to the first benefit. If a benefit is taken in cash, it will be subject to taxation. There is less lenient tax when you are retrenched. They do allow for less tax because they understand the position that you're in. If we go through that, you'll see the first 500,000 Rand is tax-free, and thereafter, the next 200,000 you'll be taxed at 18%. Next 350,000 you'll be taxed at 27%, and thereafter at 36%. Now, in the event of a normal withdrawal, if you're leaving due to not retrenchment, Dave, if you just move one slide forward, you'll see that the benefit, the tax-free benefit is 25,000 if you are just taking a normal withdrawal benefit. So there's a much more lenient tax benefit for taking your money in cash in the event of retrenchment. The issue is that you take that benefit once in your life. It's a cumulative total. So once you've used your 500,000 Rand tax-free, you don't get it again. All right. So that's your benefit on the retirement fund, your tax benefit. David, if you can go back 2 slides, please. All right. Then you can leave your fund in the current fund as a paid up benefit. That is if the current fund actually allows for it. All right. What is important is that due to the large number of members that may be leaving funds, some of the funds may not remain in place, or some of the funds may be part liquidated. All right. So current administration fees, etc., may not be sustainable. Another thing also, we know that issues with large funds in the past is that they actually don't keep contact with their members. And an important thing in counseling is whether you actually really want to leave it there, or whether you want to actually put it into a place where somebody's actually going to pay attention to your benefits specifically and look after it. You know who to contact when you want information regarding the benefits, etc. All right. Another option, if you do find another job, you can transfer to your new employer's retirement fund. There's no tax on the benefit if you transfer it from a pension fund to another pension fund, or from a provident fund to another provident fund. Alternatively, you can transfer it to a retirement annuity fund. You cannot access the money in a retirement annuity until you actually reach retirement age, all right? But you can choose your investment portfolio, and the good thing is that you can make ongoing contributions to the retirement annuity that you get tax relief on, up to 27% of remuneration. You can also transfer the benefit to a preservation fund. Now, preservation fund is a fund that is specifically set up to save your retirement monies and when you leave a fund. So it's just a holding vehicle for your monies up until the time that you actually need the money. The good thing about a preservation fund is that you can actually take one withdrawal from that preservation fund prior to retirement. So if you desperately need that money, you can make one withdrawal prior to actually reaching your retirement age. But once you've transferred it to the preservation fund, the 500,000 Rand tax scale will no longer apply, because you will be applying as a resignation and not as a retrenchment. All right, so the next thing is, if you are over age 55, you can actually retire. You can actually use your money or portion thereof to buy yourself an ongoing pension. Now you'll see there are so many options available that it is absolutely vital that somebody comes and sits across the desk from you and discusses the various options available to you. So what would typically happen is either David or France or somebody would come to see you. You'd sign a letter allowing them to obtain your information. They'll obtain the information in terms of what your benefits are, work out a couple of instances for you, and work out what will actually best suit you. Because it is possible that you find another job in the next 6 months. You know, you might be of an age that it is good to retire, but it's absolutely important that somebody actually sits across the desk from you and discusses the options that are available to you. Individual counseling in this instance is crucial. Yeah. All right. Sorry, David, you can move ahead. Okay, we've been through the tax benefits. All right. Now, in fund preservation, if you do want to leave your benefit in the fund, it's not a bad option. Funds make this facility available. I know that they said that there was something, an admin fee of something like 65 Rand a month for the option. Not a bad option. You do, however, need to comply with whatever rules the trustees of that fund have put in place. So whatever investment portfolios they've chosen, you'll have to invest there. Also, another thing is, do the funds actually make active efforts to try and trace members who've actually left? We know that in the country there is a huge issue with unclaimed benefits, people that just haven't claimed their benefits. And that is literally because the administrators or the funds just don't have the contact details for those members. So there might be more comfort in you putting your money into some form of preservation where you know who to contact, you know that you're actually running it yourself, etc. And another thing is, because these are SAA funds, or when SAA actually leaves the transport fund, a large portion of the members will leave, so the fund will need to be either liquidated or part liquidated, depending on the fund. And there is no ways that they'll be able to maintain the same administration costs with a lower membership base. So from a comfort point of view, consider this option, but have somebody actually discuss and see whether it is actually the best option for you. All right. Yes, sorry, these were just issues that we brought up. How do we ensure continued communication and representation when you've no longer got that employer-employee relationship? How do you know? I know Momentum is one of the big administrators, and they are really good, so I'm not criticizing them, but how do we know that they actually have the facility to keep your contact details in place? Particularly if you've moved to Dubai or you've moved a few times. Does the investment strategy actually take your personal circumstances into account? So those are just the things to consider, and that's another reason why it is important to have your counseling session, to make sure that you are making the right decision for your particular circumstances. All right. And then preservation. Literally, preservation is saving your money up until such time that you need to retire or leave it. Now, we know that taking your money in cash at the moment may be a good option for everyone. Other people may want to start businesses. But I know what I'm like. The minute that I've got money in my purse, I spend it. And the purpose of your retirement fund really is to look after you in the event of your retirement. So if there is any way that you can save it or preserve it, rather try and preserve it. So various options available. As we said, you can transfer to a retirement annuity, you can transfer to a preservation fund, or you can transfer to your new employer's pension or provident fund. There's no tax if you transfer your money to a retirement annuity. No tax if you transfer from the pension fund to a pension preservation fund, or from a provident fund to a provident preservation fund. And if your new employer's pension fund is either pension or provident fund, if you transfer from pension to pension, no tax. No tax if you transfer from provident to provident. All right, so that's also why it's vital. Sorry, I am stressing the counseling, but it is really important that you sit across the desk from somebody so that they can help you make your the right decision in terms of what to do with your benefit. All right. If you are age 55 or older, you can actually retire. All right. So the main fund is a pension fund. Now, the difference between a pension and provident fund is basically on a pension fund, you can take a maximum of 1/3 of your benefit in cash. As we said before, any cash benefit will be taxed, and the balance has to be invested to provide you with ongoing payments after your retirement. On a provident fund, you can cash in the full benefit, but obviously that will be subject to tax as well. All right. So the amount of money that you use from your retirement fund to purchase an annuity is basically a pension, provides you with an ongoing payment every month or every year, however often you want to. And if you are over age 55, there is a multitude, there are all sorts of different annuities that you can actually invest in. I'm not going to go through it, every single one of them, but you can, if you are over age 55, you can actually use the benefit to retire.
Elizabeth, I think if I may just quickly say something there, I think that's one of the biggest issues we sit with at the moment, is that there are all these options. And I mean, what we're going through, guys, I know for some of you it might be very basic. I hope for the majority there's some interesting things here. But I think that's the main point we're trying to make, is there are so many options. There's so many things that you can do with that money. But what's the right thing to do? What's the right? And I think that's the number one question we're all sitting with, or we will all sit with at that stage. It's filtering through all the noise, filtering through every single of the big investment houses coming at you, every single one of the insurance houses coming. Everyone's trying to, almost pitch their solution. And what we're really trying to do is to say, this is not a time to panic. This is not a time to make any harsh decisions. We've got the experience and the expertise to figure out and to work through all of that noise, and really to look at each individual person's exact need and exact criteria where they are, and then take that person's needs and mold that with whatever the best solution is out there. So it's the other way around. We're not coming with solutions. We're not coming with because each person is so unique.
Well, that's what I've been trying to stress throughout. I even highlighted it there. Counseling is required before any option is selected. You don't know. I mean, you could cash your whole retirement benefit in, pay your house, whatever, and 2 months later you are offered your dream position in Dubai or somewhere.
Yeah.
You just need to make a wise choice. So the counseling is not an effort to come and try and sell you anything. It is literally here because we know that you are going through a difficult time, to try and help you with the best solutions during this time. Because especially at a time when you are stressed and there's COVID going on and all sorts of things, people tend to make rash decisions. And your future does change. It's not necessarily what you think it might be at that particular point in time. So counseling is important. It's a big help. Thanks. David, do you want to run through that example again?
Excellent. Yes, thanks very much, Liz. Just two things before I do that. I see we've hit a cap of 100 participants in the meeting. So, guys, if people are struggling to join and they can't, just let them know that this is recorded and we're going to be sharing this out with them. I'm actually going to discuss an option of maybe doing another one of these in the next day or so, maybe even 2 more sessions just like this, just to kind of get to everybody, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, because we'd love to get to everyone's questions as well. And you know, the other couple of 100 people who want to join, they don't have the opportunity to ask those questions right now. So let's look at that later. Thanks, David.
Absolutely. And I see the questions are piling up and lining up there really nicely, and we're going to get to all of them in the question and answer session. And I'm probably going to answer 1 or 2 of them in the next couple of slides in these examples. So without further ado, so we go back to our 45-year-old senior first officer. This person has a retirement benefit fund that they've saved up. Let's just call it $1.5 million in the retirement funding situation. Within the current group benefits, this person has got a death benefit that has, you know, at this age band, 5.5 or 5 times the annual salary. Okay. The disability benefit, which mostly includes loss of license as well, also has there's a benefit of a after-tax salary there, usually paid on a monthly basis. And this person has medical aid in place paid by the company. Okay, so what are the different options in the terms in this time of retrenchment to do with your retirement benefit? Number 1 is you can take that 1.5 million and take it in cash. Because of that favorable tax scale that we addressed earlier, this is the amount that it would end up being after tax. So not terribly stringent and very a good idea. Well, I mean, it's a favorable situation in terms of this situation of a retrenchment situation. You can make it paid up and keep it within the fund, as Liz said. Again, that's subject to fund rules and has a few pros and cons to it. You can transfer it to a new employer's fund, and I just want to stress something there, is that the new employer, to transfer from one employer to another, that would have to be a local employer. I did see a question from Chiapia on the questions earlier, is that you can't transfer this benefit as is tax-free to an employer overseas. There has to be a process of withdrawal before that can happen. It can be transferred to a retirement annuity fund, transferred to a preservation fund, or used to purchase an annuity. So giving a practical example of one of these situations, our 45-year-old senior first officer is retrenched, but this person takes up a position at a foreign airline in 6 months' time. So just to give you this scenario. So retirement fund benefit, the 1.5 million, what does this person do with it? She has to make a decision. The death benefit, so that's life cover. It must be converted into an individual life insurance policy to preserve that insurance. There's a disability benefit, also needs to be converted into an individual policy, and the medical aid also converted onto an individual policy. And these are all things that are very important to consider. Let's say this person decides to take the full 500,000 Rand once-off allowance as a tax-free lump sum. Okay, what that does then is reduces your tax burden. Remember, this is a once-off in your lifetime possibility to take that 500,000. So when this person gets to retirement, he or she will not have that option, okay, of the tax benefit. So if you do it now, you have a benefit. It allows a few months of expenses and or some new self-investment and training or anything that you want to do with that 500,000. Pay off some debt, do whatever you need to do with that. Okay, again, those are not advice items, just some possibilities. All right, then the balance of that 1.5 million Rand, the 1 million Rand, then we transfer, you will transfer it into a retirement annuity fund, let's say, and that would not be taxable, which is great. So that full money, that full amount goes in and gets invested and grows towards retirement. And then you're also allowed ongoing contributions towards that retirement annuity or fund. And that has a limit of up to 27.5% of your remuneration per annum that can be deducted against tax. So very, very neat benefit there. All right. So just to answer, you can't transfer that 1.5 million rand as it is to a foreign employer. The legislation just does not allow for it. You can preserve it. We can do that preservation option, but you do lose that massive tax benefit now if you would like to take advantage of it or leave it for later for your retirement. And then also there's no ongoing contributions to a preserved benefit. So that is a practical example. So ask your questions around that example. And again, we will be sharing this out as a presentation and a recording. All right, so on to another example, a practical example of someone that is closer to retirement. So let's call our next person a 55-year-old captain. He or she has a retirement benefit of 2.5 million saved up in the retirement fund. Remember, this is separate to the retrenchment severance package. So this is the retirement money, death benefit, disability benefit, also a medical aid, similar figures and similar numbers. What do we do with these with this money? Again, there's the options that we've gone through already. And so a practical example. So let's say anyone that's 55 years of age or higher towards retirement, these are your retirement options, okay? So let's say you've got a retirement benefit of 2.5 million. Your first option is to take 1/3 of that in cash, okay? And that will be taxable, but again, according to the favorable tax bracket that we showed in the first example of the 500,000 Rand tax-free, and then invest the balance, the other 2/3, to purchase an annuity for a monthly income. Okay, so that's the first option. Your other option is to invest 100% of that 2.5 million and purchase a full pension or annuity that gives you an ongoing amount of money for either the rest of your life or for a specific time. Okay, and again, so those are your practical examples. The 55-year-old person can obviously also take advantage of this retrenchment option that I'm showing now. So anyone up until retirement age can take advantage of this. All right. Does that make sense? If you have any questions regarding these taxes and slides and numbers and everything, please put them in the chat bar, and we will definitely get to them in the question and answer session. All right. And then just lastly, again, this person does still have a death benefit, a disability, and a medical aid benefit, usually in a group fund situation. And again, you don't want to lose the value that you've got in this insurance, in those insurance policies. So they do need to be converted into individual policies for that member. All right, that's me, guys. Liz, back to you.
Okay. Just a benefit that we actually found out that SAA had, and we don't know whether everyone belongs to it, but it'll be important when a consultant actually comes to see you, just to make sure that you are or are not a member of the Friendly Society benefit. But there is a Friendly Society fund at the moment. I think the value is just over 50 million. So it's good to investigate whether you actually do belong to it or not at that stage, but that's why we just brought it in. But it's highly likely that most members don't belong to the fund, but it's still worth investigating. Sorry, David, if you can just move ahead. Okay, so it's called sorry, I just want to go back one. It's called the National Mutual Aid of Railways, Airways and Harbour Servants. You may or may not belong to this, but as I said, worth investigating.
Hey Liz, I think we're running a bit over time, so I think if we can maybe just skip that one.
Okay. Then continuation of risk benefits. David did allude to this. If you look at your risk benefits, what are they? They are group life. David, if you just move one ahead again, please. Thanks. Group life benefits, your disability benefits, potentially dread disease benefits, and funeral benefits. Now, you don't want to be out of employment and totally lose your benefits. You know, depending on your own circumstances, you want to make sure that your group life benefits continue for your children, disability benefits are in place, etc. And Pilot Insure, because of the nature of their business, are in a unique position to actually help pilots. They've put together quite a few unique solutions for the aviation industry. So really, if you do want to talk to somebody or somebody who can give you solutions in this regard, Pilot Insure is uniquely placed to assist in that regard.
Thanks, Liz.
Right.
That's nice.
But you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of your medical aid, obviously this is absolutely vital, especially in the time that we're going through. You know, through COVID, you don't want to lose the benefits. I actually was talking to one of our employee benefits clients. She's a HR manager for one of the large platinum mines. She said that she had to take one of the staff members to hospital. They sat in the government hospital for 3.5 hours before a doctor just waltzed through and didn't actually even look. You don't want to be in a position right now where you have to rely on you know, government hospitals and benefits. Continuation of your medical aid benefits is absolutely vital. The same with housing allowances. If you have any other housing allowances or other benefits, once again, I'm not going to go, as Frans said, I'm running over time, but very important that somebody actually comes and sits across a desk with you and makes sure that, you know, you can replace as many of the benefits that you can, considering that your financial position may change. And the only way to do it is to actually have somebody who is there to help you, not to try and sell, but to give you the correct counseling in terms of your needs and benefits. And Frans and David are your team. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Liz. That was amazing. Yeah, I think you know, even us being in the industry, you know, I've also picked up a couple of things from Dave. Just go back. I think I also just picked up a couple of things from you know, just rehashing some things you think you know, but you've actually forgotten along the way. So, guys, I hope you've all gotten some proper value out of this. Like we said, we are going to you know, have this video made public. We'll send it out again so that you guys can relook at it if you want. If there's a couple of things you just want to review. We've seen there was quite a lot of questions coming in. That's exciting. I mean, that's exactly what we wanted. And we are, I think at this stage, going to take a 5 to 10 minute break, just for everyone to have a cup of coffee and to resettle themselves. And then let's get back and tackle some of the questions. I'm looking forward to actually going through them, and we'll chat about it a bit more. So we'll see you guys in 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you very much. We push the end meeting button, David.
I know I am. I'm going to do that now.